Welcome back to Coast View. Hey, one of the things I talk about on Coast View a lot is redemption. It might be with judges that we have that conversation, or it could be with people who have incredible personal stories to tell. One of the things I did this morning is just go back and remind myself what some of the more famous people had to say about redemption. And I just want to share a couple with you. One is from Gandhi. He said this, that no human being is so bad as to be beyond redemption. There are so many incredible stories of people where people have given up on them for whatever reason, and they went on to prove them wrong, and they did amazing things in their lives, and there's story after story after story of that. That's why I think we should always be focused on redeeming characteristics in everyone. This guy named Richard Van Waassacker, I have no idea how to pronounce that last name, said something important, though. Seeking to forget makes exile all the longer. The secret of redemption lies in remembrance. And I really is speaking to being honest with yourself and being honest with others around you. So you can be an example. I mean, first of all, you can't go to where you're going if you don't know where you are now. I say that about companies all the time, but it's true about yourself. You really can't begin to build bridges to your future if you're not incredibly honest about where you are today. What are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? What are your challenges? And so on. And then one last one. Redemption is won in the light, but wrought in the darkness. And I don't know who said that, but I just thought it was really incredible, though, that this whole notion of redemption being won in the light of day, but the fact that you have to come to terms with the situation often is done sort of inside yourself, and it can be difficult. It takes time, and I could go on about that. But I've talked about it from so many different perspectives. Our next guest, Todd Trenchard, who's the executive director of the Bako McCarty Foundation, and I spent a whole show together about a year ago where we talked about his incredible story of addiction and loneliness and redemption. And Todd, first of all, welcome to the show. Welcome back to Coast View.
Thanks for having me, Ricky.
It's great to see you. Every year you post a post that is a way of reminding yourself and those around you that redemption not only is possible, but literally rising to a whole new level of human existence is possible. You are really focused on becoming sort of an example for others not to give up, for others to seek redemption, for others who are looking at people who are struggling to be more patient and to be more understanding, because there were lots of opportunities for people to give up on you along the way. You probably gave up on yourself at one point, but you proved that you came to Home of Grace in 1997, that you could rise above all of your challenges. And I mean, as you look back on it now, and with all your success and the way you contributed back to the community, I bet you still marvel at how low you had gotten.
Well, and I think that was part of the reason that I was able to get up. I went literally to the bottom and gave up, and I turned to God, and I said, if you're out there, do something. And something miraculous happened inside of me. And like you said, I made a decision at that moment in time that I was going to give my life to try to make a difference. Had no idea what that even meant when I made that decision, because I had never lived on the other side. But it's been a long process. You have to first set up the building blocks of a new life, a foundation. And I always say that time is one of the missing ingredients. And a lot of people want it overnight. They want to change a past. In my particular case, it was, 20, 25 years of drinking and doing drugs. It's not going to happen overnight. And you have to take it slowly. You have to know what your limits are, your parameters that you live within. And fortunately, I was able to set up a career where I was able to give back, which is one of the things that we talk about, certainly in Alcoholics Anonymous, that You need to get into service. You need to get rid of the selfishness, the self-centeredness, and found that perfect career where somebody believed in me. Of course, that was Merchants and Marine Bank, Royce Cumbus, and they gave me a shot. And with it, we developed the Baco McCarty Foundation. So I've had a career where I've been able to do exactly what you need to do, which is get out of yourself, give back to others. And I had a very strong focus on trying to reach those that suffered from alcohol and drug addiction. So after I stayed sober a few years, I started that little post. I do it each year, and it's amazing how many people read that post each year, get strength from that post. I've literally had dozens and dozens of calls over the last day and a half, people thanking me for, continuing putting it out there. And it's really, we each have a calling. We each have some skeleton in our closet that can help somebody else. And you don't have to do it in, such a public way like I do, but I'm leaving here right after this show, and we're going to have the Home of Grace at Rotary. And I'll talk to the men that are in the program. Friday, I'll go out and do the charge at their graduation. I've stayed connected from where my roots were. You can't forget for where you come from. And, as you know, Ricky, it's almost surreal to see just how far this has come, beyond my wildest dreams.
It's really incredible. You are quite an example. By the way, for the YouTube and Facebook audience, there's a Wi-Fi issue on Todd's side, so that's creating a little bit of a jerky message or video. But for the radio audience, you don't see that. The sound is fine. But Todd, I had Judge Mike Dickinson on recently. He's the youth court judge in Harrison County. And I've previously had Judge Farr from Hancock County on. Both of them care deeply about their areas of responsibility. And what Mike Dickinson told me is that upwards to 90% of the youth cases that he sees involves parents, where 90% now were parents that are involved in drug or alcohol. So a lot of times people's drug and alcohol addictions are a little bit below the surface. You don't see it in their everyday life. It's something they hide from others. But it's my hope that when you do that post, I know it's your hope too, that will touch somebody who really needs to get help. Maybe they won't have to go to 40 treatment centers, 40 treatment centers that you had to go to get saved. Hopefully they won't have to do that. But if they have to go to 40 treatment centers, the point we want to make is no one should give up on them. There's the opportunity for redemption no matter what your situation is. And the fact that you had gotten so far into this and that you come out of it as a shining example in our community is a testament to others. And you feel that every day, don't you?
Well, when I'm talking to both those maybe that, like myself. Yeah, I certainly, if somebody were to come in and they were in recovery and they had a couple years sober and they were doing the deal, I'd actually be more apt to hire them than I would somebody that didn't, because I know that they have a commitment and they're doing something with a positive focus. But I'm not just talking, to employers or to people to give people a second chance. I'm talking to a lot of the people that are in recovery. If you fall, get up. If you fall, get up. I had a brother who committed suicide and he didn't get up. And that has always stuck with me because I guess on the surface, my problems were a lot more severe than his. But that's the ultimate, I guess, choice, to not have to face whatever is reality. It didn't matter how far down I went and how hopeless I felt, I kept getting up. And like you said, on the 41st attempt, something happened. And, it's very important that families understand that, people do die of addiction. They do die of alcoholism. You can't just keep kicking somebody when they're down. Try to encourage them to get help.
Yeah, well, your example has certainly said that each year, and you want to live by example. You put yourself under a lot of stress to do that, and you really are glad you did. Anyway, this is Todd Trenchard from the Baco McCarty Foundation. We'll be back after this break.
Subscribe for free to the Coast View podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to Coast View. We're visiting with my friend Todd Trenchard. He's the executive director of the Baco McCarty Foundation. And, Todd, I want to just say thank you, actually. After the first segment we spent together, as you talked about how you came to grips with your demons in your life and the fact that you're willing to be an example for others. And as we were saying during the break, during the pandemic, the occurrence of drug and alcohol abuse has only gone up. And there are probably a lot of people who are listening to this who say, I really need to do something about this. I really need to, come to grips with my own demons. And maybe, hopefully your story of redemption and your willingness to put it out there every year will turn some folks. You probably already know that you have turned some folks just from your own personal example and by the conversations that you've had with people. Is that what you're finding?
Well, I own a 3-quarter-way house. I've had it for 18 years. It's in Goshen now. It was in Ocean Springs, called Trinity House. And between my work there with Home of Grace, with now the estate up in Lucedale, some of the other treatment centers around, even the region, going to a lot of meetings, you start seeing more and more people that either I call it getting the squirrel cage. They just continually try to get well, fall, try to get well, fall. But over time, you develop a relationship with them and you start to see little lights go off. When does that spark meet the opportunity to start moving in another direction? For each person is different. Some never get it. But there's so many people out there, like you said, Rick, that don't even reach out for help. They just quietly exist behind the shadows of the curtains, and it doesn't matter if you have money, if you don't, if you're a doctor, lawyer, politician, or somebody that's working as a janitor at night. This affects everyone, and I think we just need to have it more of a conversation piece where I think the secrecy destroys more lives than anything. But a lot of things have changed in the 25 years that I've been here on the coast. When I came here, you were sort of looked at a little differently. Today, those that reach out are looked at as, hey, they're trying to do something with their life, and people don't have the same stigma. So that's good. It's starting to change.
Yeah.
You're starting to see, I'm seeing a lot more familiar faces, in meetings, the people that we know. I used to go to meetings and hold my head down and not want people to know who I was. And today it's almost like we're on first name basis. In fact, that's a lot of those people I use for services in the community.
Yeah. So Todd, let's shift gears for a second. And by the way, thank you for being so willing to share your message of hope. And it's so important, especially this time of year. In the short time we have left, give me kind of a sense of the state of affairs at the Baco McCarty Foundation these days.
Well, we've just come off back-to-back the largest years we've ever had. We raised more money over the last 2 years than we ever have in our 18 years. I think this past year we raised 1.2 million. We gave out about 550,000, so that's the most monies we've ever given out. Again, when you have a long-term standing reputation in your community of, meeting the needs of youth and education, eventually people start stepping up and joining your thing. We're now coast-wide. We have a Gulfport, sort of office and outreach over there. Of course, being based in Pascagoula is always home, and we've got a great town here. Something that we would have never been able to probably do anywhere else on the coast, because Pascagoula was such a great community where everybody sort of worked together and communicated with each other. But you're starting to see that go over into the Gulfport market. They don't have something like this, and they're very interested. Butch Ossolet's helping us sort of coordinate those efforts over there. But it's certainly something that anybody can do in any community. In a lot of ways, working at M&M Bank right when they were building the new bank obviously added a lot to who we were able to meet and things like that. That's where I met you, and met I guess John Lucas when he ended up giving us all those monies with the IP. But again, I think this is something that anybody can do in any community. We've got a great board of directors, and we're having our annual meeting tonight. It's almost like a celebration. You never thought that this would have possibly gotten to this size or this effectiveness all those years ago.
It is really incredible. It really is. And I like to say of the Baco McCarty Foundation that it stood the test of time. And there's so much more we could say, but as we're coming to the end of the segment together, Todd, I just want to thank you for your continued leadership. Your board, as you mentioned, you've got a terrific board that is a coast-wide board, and they are very, very focused on not only serving Jackson County, but also serving other areas of need, filling gaps and helping to play a role in the community to make it a better community. We can't have enough people doing this. Lots of thousands of points of light here in coastal Mississippi. Baco McCarty is one of them. But anyway, thank you for your time, Todd. We appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you, Ricky. Appreciate it.
You bet. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook. Facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1.